Well, we are back in the UFC Apex this weekend. Sean Strickland and Jack Hermansson headline this 13-fight card. We've got some solid fighters in this card on our last stop before UFC 271 next week in Houston, Texas. But for now, we've got Hermansson and Strickland in the main event. And real quick, checking out UFC 270. Again, not our best card. We went 6-5, solid. Big wins, I would say Figueiredo by decision. I felt pretty good about getting that one right. We got Morales, right? Michael Morales beating Trevin Giles. Also, we got Vanessa Demopoulos. Sure, I didn't think she was going to win by first round submission, but she won. We went 6-5. Cito Gane didn't get the win. I still think you can argue that he might have won the 5th round, but you're not taking the title from Francis Ngannou by barely winning that fight. Ngannou was the rightful winner. I just see the case for 3-2 Gane, but if I had to score personally, I would have given it to Ngannou. Nonetheless, though, we went 6-5 on that card. Let's now move on to this week in the Apex. So we start off here in the flyweight division. We've got Malcolm Gordon taking on the UFC newcomer in Denis Bondar. And for Malcolm X Gordon, he's had 3 fights so far in the UFC. His first 2 really didn't look good at all, because his first fight was Amir Albazi, and Amir Albazi came in there. It was Benavidez and Figueiredo number 2 in Abu Dhabi. Albazi immediately got a takedown, brought Gordon to the ground, and subbed him with an arm triangle choke 4 minutes in the fight. So what does Malcolm Gordon do? He comes back in the Apex, Smith versus Clark. Your fight for Malcolm Gordon is Sumidarji, and Sumidarji knocks him out in 45 seconds. So we're thinking Malcolm Gordon versus Francisco Figueiredo. I picked Francisco Figueiredo. I think a lot of people picked Francisco Figueiredo to win that fight just because Figueiredo looked good in the Jerome Rivera fight, given is Jerome Rivera the best UFC fighter? No, he's not, but we thought that Francisco Figueiredo was going to go in there and beat Malcolm Gordon. He didn't, because Malcolm Gordon showed, he can use his wrestling when he has to, and he can strike when he has to as well. It was an okay victory, but now I'm questioning how good of a UFC fighter Francisco Figueiredo is, and maybe he's just in there because of the last name, and also because Jerome Rivera wasn't the best UFC fighter as well, and that's Figueiredo's only win in the promotion. Now, you look at Gordon's opponent this weekend, it's going to be Denis Bondar. For Bondar, coming off a couple wins, a lot of big wins over in different regional promotions. His last win will be on road to WWFC, winning the WWFC World Championship by winning by rear naked choke in the first round. If you look at Denis Bondar, a lot of submission victories on the resume for him. He's got 5 KO and TKO victories and 11 subs for Bondar. His last loss has come all the way back in 2017, but since then, the man has been on a roll, racking up the wins. He was scheduled earlier in 2021 to take on Ode Osborne. Bondar had to withdraw from that fight. Then he's supposed to take on Victor Rodriguez. Bondar got hurt, so he couldn't fight there. And then the original Malcolm Gordon fight was supposed to be in November of last year, but now we finally settled on this date of course, Saturday, February 5th. I think the game plan is pretty simple here for Denis Bondar, and I think this is how he's probably going to do it. I think the best pathway to victory for him is through the takedowns and through getting this fight on the ground. Like we saw Malcolm Gordon get submitted by Amir Albazi, who is a good fighter. Like, don't be wrong, I think Amir Albazi is very good. He's very good on the ground. I think, though, if we're looking at this from Denis Bondar's perspective, he can do exactly what Amir Albazi can do on the ground, and I don't think he's going to have too many problems doing it, and I don't think you're going to be that scared about the striking game of Malcolm Gordon because it's not the greatest. And yeah, I think Denis Bondar is going to go win this fight. I think he's going to go land a takedown in the first. I think he might get the sub in the first. I'm going to say second round submission, though, for Denis Bondar coming into the UFC and submitting Malcolm Gordon in the second round. Now we are in the light heavyweight division for Jailton Almeida and Danilo Marques. Almeida, I do believe the biggest favorite on this entire card, coming in at about -410. On the flip side, you got +310 for Danilo Marques. I'll tell you why this is a very troubling fight for Danilo Marques. If Danilo Marques is not the better striker, or the better grappler, in any of his fights, it's tough for him to win because he's not the greatest striker. You saw that it was ever so, in his last fight against Kennedy and Njokuani. And I think highly of Njokuani, even though he just lost the last fight to Dawodu. But Njokuani got out grappled in the first 2 rounds by Marques, but in the third, Marques got tired, he couldn't bring the fight no longer to the ground, and Kennedy and Njokuani knocked him out standing in the 3rd round. That was on Gon Volkov over in the summer of last year. We haven't seen Marques since. Now, Jailton Almeida is a tremendous grappler. You look at most of this dude's fights in his entire professional career, it's victories through the ground game. His last win was on the Contender Series, winning by rear naked choke in the 2nd round. This guy's got so many different grappling tournaments and different, grappling events he's participated in the past. All of his last 5 wins are all by submission, and they're against some pretty good opponents. His win 2 fights ago, he beat a guy who's 37-30. Again, that guy's seen some dudes in MMA, but beating guys who've had 67 fights under the radar sometimes isn't the worst thing. So Jailton Almeida, we know he can take on veteran guys, beat guys like guys he's seeing on the independent seed. just the thing with Danilo Marques is I wasn't too impressed with Marques coming into the UFC. I think I always bring up the fact that he fought a guy who was 0-16 before heading into the UFC, and he was kind of gifted probably the easiest UFC debut in UFC history, other than maybe actually, no, when Mickey Gall came to the UFC, was his first fight? No, his first fight wasn't CM Punk. So never mind. I think it was probably one of the easiest entry-level fights to the UFC when he took on Hadis Ibrahimov. He beat Ibrahimov by unanimous decision. The fight really wasn't all that entertaining. Ibrahimov, by the way, though, outside the UFC, he's 4-0 since leaving the promotion. So, hey, maybe Hadis Ibrahimov will be back. He's been killing it in hardcore FC, but for Marques, he wins the fight against Ibrahimov. He beats Mike Slow Rodriguez. Cool, Mike Rodriguez isn't the best grappler, and then he gets beat by Kennedy Nzechukwu. If Danilo Marques can't win the grappling battle with Jailton Almeida, which I don't think he's going to be able to, he does not stand a chance in this fight because, oh, by the way, Jailton Almeida can also strike, but Almeida can also get it done on the feet as well, or on the ground as well. So I don't think Danilo Marques stands, that big of a chance this one. I don't think he's got a shot. I'll, keep it a buck with you. I'm not too impressed with the game out of Marques. I think Jailton Almeida is going to come in here. I think he's going to win this fight. I think he's going to win on the ground. I think he's going to win on the feet as well. I'm going to go Jailton Almeida to beat Danilo Marques. I'm going to go the safe pick here, say by decision. I wouldn't be surprised at a finish, but for now, we're going to go Jailton Almeida to pick up his first win by decision. I don't know. We're going to go decision, though. So, am I the only one that's not impressed with Julia Stoliarenko at all? I'm just not. I don't get why she's in this fight with Alexis Davis. I know Davis has lost 4 out of her last 5, but look at the opponent she's fought in those last 5 fights. Petty Kanzad, Sabina Maza, okay. Viviane Araujo, Jennifer Maia, and Caitlin Kuchagian? Yeah, those are the fighters Davis is fighting. Stoliarenko, she comes back to the UFC after she was on The Ultimate Fighter when she had to fight at 145 because the UFC was trying to develop that 145-pound weight class. She loses to Leah Letson on the Ultimate Fighter finale card. Okay, should she have really lost that fight? Probably not, but honestly, Leah Letson did enough, I think, to win. It was just a boring fight. Don't go watch it. But Stoliarenko comes back. She picks up some wins over, of course, in Invicta. She wins the Invicta Bantamweight Championship. She wins by split decision in March 2020. She gets the call up to the UFC, takes on Yana Kunitskaya. Now, Kunitskaya is a top 10 fighter. Kunitskaya comes in there and absolutely shuts down Julia Stoliarenko. Just absolute domination by Yana Kunitskaya in that fight. 13 minutes of control on the ground, and Stoliarenko was kind of, booked in that fight to be, all right, if she has any chance to win this fight, it's going to be on the ground. Yana Kunitskaya came in there and put on a wrestling and grappling masterpiece against Julia Stoliarenko. Wasn't competitive. So Stoliarenko comes back, she takes on Julia Avila. Now, Avila comes in there and subs her in the 3rd round. And Avila is probably going to win the decision anyway, but she subs her in the 3rd. So if Stoliarenko isn't, billed as a good striker, which she obviously isn't, if she can't strike well, but she can't grapple well at all, how is she going to beat Alexis Davis? Because the pathway to beating Alexis Davis, at least recently, it's been avoid the ground game, and avoid the ground game and try to outstrike her. Or if you're the better grappler, go in there and just try to outgrapple her. Julia Stoliarenko doesn't check any of those boxes. I don't think she's gonna be able to outstrike Alexis Davis, and oh, by the way, I don't think she's gonna be able to outgrapple Alexis Davis, kind of like similar to what Araujo did, and Liz Carmouche tried to do but couldn't, and then maybe like Sarah McMahon back in the day when McMahon submitted Alexis Davis by arm triangle, right? So I don't think Julia Stoliarenko can do either of those things. So how does she win the fight? I truly don't know. So I think this is all Alexis Davis in this fight. And again, it's not that I'm overly impressed with the game of Alexis Davis, definitely as of late, but I just think this is a levels fight. I think she's so much better than Stoliarenko in this one. I think this is just a way to get Davis another win here in the promotion, get her back on track. I think it's going to be a one-way street in this fight. It's going to be all Alexis Davis. I've got Alexis Davis to beat Julia Stoliarenko by decision, 30-27. The fight's not even close. Now we've got Jason Witt taken on Phil Rowe, and for Jason Witt, coming off that huge win over Brian Barberena, a fight I didn't think he was gonna win, but he comes in there, he beats Barberena by majority decision. It's a fun fight and one fight of the night back on Hall versus Strickland. And before that, for Jason Witt, he ran into Matthew Samurai the Jedi Semmelsberger, and Semmelsberger just knocking everybody out in the first 20 seconds because he knocks out Witt in 16 seconds in that fight. Edwards versus Muhammad. Before that, for Witt, he beats Cole Williams, who Cole Williams is the best fighter in the world. Not really. And then before that, for Witt, he takes on Takashi Sato, losing by KO in the first 40 seconds. That's a problem. That's a problem. Jason Witt's 2 losses are both within a minute, and they're both by knockout. Both of his wins, though, what do they have in common? It's Jason Witt, successfully landing the takedowns and successfully getting the fights to the ground and, working pretty well down there. Jason Witt in the fighting Barberena, 8 takedowns. He went 8 for 18, but still over about 6 minutes of control in that fight, in that win over Brian Barberena. He took some bombs on the feet as well and delivered some of his own, huge bombs on the feet as well, actually knocking down Barberena Barberena. I believe it was in the 3rd round. Could be mistaken, but I know it was later in the fight when he did knock down Barberena. As for his opponent, Philip Rowe, a guy who I just feel like I have a bad read on. I haven't picked a Phil Rowe fight right yet, so hopefully this is the one. But yeah, he comes into the UFC, he beats Leon Shabazian in the Contender Series. I thought he was going to lose that fight, but he ended up winning by 3rd round knockout. And then I thought he was going to, in the Gabe Green fight, I thought he was going to win. He didn't, lost by decision. And then the Orion Kosei fight, I thought Orion Kosei was going to beat him, but Phil Rowe kept the fight standing and eventually finished him in the 2nd round, even though Orion Kosei looked good in the 1st round, landing the takedown, but eventually caught up to him and Phil Rowe put him out in the 2nd. So I'm going to know in this fight, yeah, Phil Rowe's got a 10-inch reach advantage in this fight. Yeah. So for Jason Witt, in order to win this fight, he's got to land a takedown. He's got to get this fight on the ground, keep it on the ground. That's a problem when you have a 10-inch, disadvantage on the feet. That's a problem because he's gonna have to close distance a lot, but will he be able to close distance at all against Rowe? I don't know if he's gonna be able to. So that alone is, really good if you're on the side of Phil Rowe in this fight, because I think Phil can keep his distance and effectively strike at range against Witt. And Rowe still does have some power as well. He's never, gone to the judges in a fight that he has won. He does have some submissions in his own right, but I don't think he's going to be wanting to stay on the ground with Witt, who is a pretty good offensive wrestler and who can get submissions while he is on top as well. My thing with Witt in this fight, though, is that 10-inch reach advantage. Can he be able to close the distance? Don't think he's going to be able to. I think Phil Rowe is going to keep his distance, and I think Phil Rowe is probably going to finish Jason Witt. And if I'm picking against Jason Witt, I think I know what I'm going to do. 1st round finish for Phil Rowe. I think he's going to knock out Witt in the 1st round. I just think the distance and the range that Rowe is going to be able to keep is just going to be too much for Witt. I think he's going to finish him very late in the 1st round by KO. Give me Phil Rowe. Hopefully we finally pick one of his fights right. Now at middleweight, we have got Marc-Andre Barriault and Chidi Njokuani. Njokuani coming over from Bellator, even though he had that, one fight. On the Contender Series, and we'll start here with Njokuani coming off that win on the Contender, beating Mario Souza by TKO late in the 3rd round, early in the 3rd round, excuse me. Knocked down Souza in that fight, finished in the 3rd. Pretty dominant performance for Njokuani in that one. Souza couldn't really get anything going. He landed a takedown, did Souza. Njokuani, does well in the transition game of things, and yeah, Njokuani was just better than Souza on that night. Before Njokuani, though, he's a very good striker. You saw that in Bellator when he had a couple fights over there, actually 5 fights over there. He fought in RFA for a little bit as well, and LFA as well. Njokuani's been around for a while. He's 33 years old, finally now making his UFC debut. He's a very good striker, very good at range, is Njokuani. And again, him and Barriault are two, definite strikers. Barriault's a weird guy, though, because he's not, the most entertaining style of fighter. He puts on a lot of volume, like you saw in the Dalcha Champion fight. Put on a lot of volume in that one. Eventually won that one by decision. Kind of like the Abu Zaitar fight, too. Just took Marc-Andre Barriault a long while to get going in that fight. For Chidi Njokuani, not exactly the same case. I think Njokuani much more of a fast starter than Barriault is, but again, a lot of people are faster starters than Marc-Andre Barriault is. You look at Barriault, though, Marc-Andre Barriault, he's got the fight over Adulter Lujanbula, outstrikes him 118-85 in significant strike totals. After that, before that, he beats Abu Zaitar. Again, it was that fight where he finished him late in the 3rd round. And then he had that weird start to his UFC run. He loses to Andrew Sanchez, loses to Jotko, loses to Jun Young Park, and then beats Oscar Peota by KO, but that fight got overturned, and then now he's got the 2 wins back-to-back with Abu Zaitar and Dalcha Lujanbula. For Barriault, though, as long as he can keep his volume working and just overwhelm Njokuani, I think that's his best way to winning this one. If Njokuani, though, can get out of that, that style that Marc-Andre Barriault keeps having his opponents falling into, the kind of the same style that Lujanbula fell into, just the constant pressure from Barriault, those short strikes that do keep landing, and Lujanbula just couldn't really get his offense going. If Njokuani can avoid that, obviously he's going to beat Marc-Andre Barriault, but it's kind of that boring style that Marc-Andre Barriault does fight, and I think he's going to win. I don't think it's going to be the most entertaining style of fight. I don't think it's going to be the best, I don't think he's going to get a fight of the night, or you're going to see a fight of the night, or performance of the night, or a fight of the night out of this victory here. But I think Marc-Andre Barriault is going to do just enough to win this one. I think he's going to try to close the distance, get those short strikes off, and I'm going to go with Marc-Andre Barriault to beat Chidi Njokuani in Njokuani's UFC debut. We're going Marc-Andre Barriault to win this fight by decision. Now we have got Mike Trizano taking on Hakeem Dawodu. And for Dawodu, coming off his first loss in the UFC, or actually after his win streak in the UFC, I know he lost to Danny Henry. His first fight got subbed in about 30 seconds. But he came back after the Henry fight. He won 5 straight on a pretty big roll, beating Zubair Tukhugov, and then he loses to Movsar Evloev. But that happens to a lot of guys. Evloev is very good. Evloev doesn't fight the style of fight that Dawodu wants to fight because he took him down 9 times, had 9 minutes of control. It was rinse and repeat for Movsar Evloev in that one. That guy is a tough guy to beat in the UFC. No one's beat him yet. He's 15-0. I know he's supposed to take on Ilia Topuria. That fight got canceled, of course. Maybe he'll get rebooked, but I doubt it because I think Topuria is going to be fighting Charles Jourdain. I think they're going to rebook that fight instead. Who knows? But Dawodu to lose to Evloev. You know Hakeem Mean. Dawodu does very well. He strikes very well. He's a very good striker because you saw that in the Tukugov fight. Tukugov couldn't take him down. He's 1 for 7 on his takedown attempts, and Dawodu kept the fight standing, talking a lot of trash in that one, and beat Tukugov by split decision. It should not have been a split decision. I think that was a pretty obvious decision win for Dawodu, but judges, I don't know. Still though, Dawodu went on to win that fight. The Julio Arce fight looked very good as well. Kept the fight standing, outstruck him. And before that, picking up one on UFC 240 with a really nice head kick victory. Of course, at UFC 240, winning that one by KO in the 3rd round. His opponent, though, in this fight, Mike Trizano. And by the way, we talked about how Dawodu, wants to keep the fight standing. Not the greatest on the ground, but that's more how good Movsar Evloev is on the ground. Don't think this fight's going to be taking place too much on the ground because Mike Trizano, again, another fighter who is a good striker in his own right. You saw that in the Ludovic Klein fight. Most of that fight was Trizano trying to keep the fight standing, and that's what he did effectively. He kept the fight standing and, kept outstriking Klein in that fight. Ludovic did have some of his moments on the ground. He did land 4 takedowns, but for the most part, couldn't do much with it, only having about 3 minutes of control time on the ground in that fight. Trizano and the other parts of that fight kept it standing and kept outstriking Klein. Before that, for Trizano, it's his only loss in the UFC. It's a loss to Grant Dawson. Dawson, what does he do very well? He gets fights down, and he submits his opponents, and that's what Dawson did against Trizano, winning by rear naked choke in the 2nd round of that fight over on the Dos Anjos and Lee card. And before that, for Trizano, winning back-to-back fights ever since winning on the Ultimate Fighter. He beat Joe Giannetti in his first fight in the promotion by split decision, and then beat Violent Bob Ross, Luis Pena by split decision as well. The Pena fight, don't really see the split decision in that one. I thought Trizano won that one pretty convincingly. I know Pena did have his moments on the ground, but Trizano looked good in that one. And the Giannetti fight wasn't the best fight, let's be real, but I thought Trizano did enough to win that fight as well. So he's 3-1 in the UFC, taking on a guy though, Hakeem Dawodu. I just think Dawodu's striking though might be too much for Trizano. I think it just might be. We haven't seen Trizano taking on the levels of competition that Dawodu's seen so far in the UFC. And again, I know Dawodu saw Evloev is a very good fighter, but I mean, Zubair Tukugov is a tough fighter to beat. I mean, Tukugov is a tough, style to crack. I know he's come back and he's beat Ricardo Ramos since, but again, Tukugov's a tough guy. He really is. And Trizano, nothing against Ludovic Klein and nothing against Violent Bob Ross, who isn't fighting in the UFC anymore. Some legal issues. I'm not going to get into that. I know Grant Dawson's a very good guy as well, but Dawson in his last fight didn't look the best when he should have beat Rick Glenn, but he didn't because he got tired at the end of the fight. Nonetheless, though, I just don't think the guys Trizano's faced are as good or at the level that Hakeem Dawodu is. Dawodu's striking, I think, is a hell lot better than Trizano, and I think Dawodu's going to win this fight. I think he should just be able to outstrike Trizano. Don't see this one going on the ground. I'm going with Hakeem Dawodu to beat Mike Trizano. He's going to get it done by decision in this fight. You want your lock of the night? It's right here. Miles Johnson not losing to John Castaneda. It's not happening. It's not happening. I know the odds aren't as, big as I would think they're going to be. I mean, minus 240 is still, pretty heavy favorite for Miles Johnson. He's not losing this fight. He's not losing to John Castaneda. Miles Johnson is very good, guys. This guy is very good. He's not losing to a guy in John Castaneda who is a UFC caliber fighter, sure, but a guy that's lost 3 out of his last 5. He's not losing this fight. Miles Johnson's not losing. Miles Johnson has power that not many guys have at this weight class. Like, not most bantamweights have the power that Miles Johnson possesses. The Anderson dos Santos victory is a tremendous victory with the big overhand right in the 3rd round. It's a fight that Miles Johnson, he had already banked the first 2 rounds, and he still finished dos Santos in the 3rd on that Lewis and Gone card. And before that, oh, by the way, he finished Kevin Natividad on the Halloween card on Uriah Hall and Anderson Silva. Now, the only thing out of Miles Johnson that I don't like out of his, I wouldn't say it's his game, it's that he doesn't fight often. This is his 3rd fight. I mean, he's fought, 4 times in the last 3 years? He doesn't fight often. And if Miles Johnson had more activity, he's 27 years old, he's in his prime right now, he could be all that much better. But this is a fight where he's just going to run right through John Castaneda. I don't know if Castaneda makes it around with Miles Johnson, just because I think there's that big of a difference in the striking in this one. I know Castaneda, he does have a 1st round finish. It was over a year ago, or about a year ago, on Blades and Lewis, where he finished Eddie Wineland. Okay, former WEC champion Wineland. He's old, he's not very good anymore, and John Castaneda beat him. I thought Eddie Wineland was going to be able to somehow edge out a victory in that one. It didn't go our way. That's cool, but I don't think that Castaneda stands a shot in this one. I really don't think he will. Because look at the Nathaniel Wood fight with Castaneda. John Castaneda's complete game was so neutralized in that fight against Nathaniel Wood. And I can make the case that Miles Johnson is a way better striker than Wood. Maybe is he not, the same technically sound as Nathaniel Wood is, but power-wise and the amounts of pure pressure Miles Johnson will bring, I don't think you can compare that with Nathaniel Wood. Now, Nathaniel Wood, again, very good technical striker, but Johnson has the power that Wood doesn't have. And if you get hit that many times by Nathaniel Wood, like you're going to get hit by Miles Johnson, if that was Miles Johnson that fight with Castaneda back in 2020 on Whitaker until he's getting knocked out either the first or second round. I just don't think Castaneda's striking is up to strength with Miles Johns. We've seen the power out of Johns. Super nice uppercut in the Natividad fight, beating Anderson Dos Santos. This guy's on a roll right now. He comes in the UFC, he beats, and by the way, this guy's got a winner for Adrian Yanez. And Yanez is one of those guys quickly climbing up the ranks right now at 135. He's got 4 wins so far in the UFC, 4-0, 3 of them by KO. I mean, the man's on a roll as Yanez, and Miles Johns owes a split decision victory over him. He beat Cole Smith in the UFC as well. He beat Richie Santiago in the Contender. His one loss to Mario Bautista where he got caught by a flying knee. Reyes and Jones at UFC 247. Flash knockout. Who gives a damn? I don't care. I think Miles Johnson is going to go in here. Again, I don't think this fight's all that competitive. I think he's going to knock out John Castaneda. Give it to me in the second round. I think Castaneda will get out the first, but I truly think this is all Miles Johns. I think Johns keep the fight standing. Something we don't mention enough with Miles Johns too is that he's got tremendous takedown defense, 92% takedown defense rate so far in the UFC. The only guy to take him down was Cole Smith on that Cowboy and Gagey card. Smith took him down. He had a lot of success in the ground, but since then, no one's really been able to test the ground game of Miles Johns because of the takedown defense, because of the constant pressure he does bring on the feet, and because of all that power he possesses in his hands as well. So I don't think Castaneda's going to get this one on the ground. Striking wise, I don't think it's all that competitive. I like Miles Johns every single day of the week in this one. I think it's one of the biggest locks on this entire card. It is the lock on the card. Miles Johns beats John Castaneda, second round TKO finish. Now, honestly, I don't think too many people are giving Stephen Ocho Peterson too big of a shot in this fight against Juicy J. Julian Erosa, and I get that. I get it because Erosa is a very good fighter, and his return to the UFC is 3-1, and the one loss being the knockout finish to Sung Woo Choi. Now, pure grappling wise, I think Erosa is a lot better than Stephen Peterson. I just think he is. The Darce Choco Julian Erosa is so nice. You saw him catch 2 very good fighters with it. Talking about Sean Woodson and Charles Air Jordan. He's a very good grappler as Julian Erosa. But if Stephen Ocho Peterson's got any chance in this fight, and it's kind of a slim chance, but what he does have that Julian Erosa doesn't have is a somewhat decent chin. That's what I'm still concerned about with Erosa. Erosa gets knocked out a lot. He's been knocked out 5 times in his career, and that's going to happen to you when you fight 35 times. But the Sung Woo Choi fight, immediately he gets KO'd. And it's like, it was a good shot by Sung Woo Choi, but still though, Erosa's not in that point of his career where he can still eat those types of strikes. He can't. Devontae Smith knocked him out. Julio Arce knocked him out. He got knocked here, or no, he didn't get knocked out by Paddy Pimblett. He just lost by decision. Ishihara, I believe, knocked him out. I think Ishihara knocked him out. UFC 196, he knocked him out. And then he got knocked out some other time in his career, I do believe. But Bobby McIntyre in Cage Sport knocked him out for the lightweight championship over there. Right? Erosa's been knocked out a lot, and it's been a lot recently because his first knockout loss was against Ishihara. That was UFC 196, so that was 2016. He's been knocked out 5 times in 5 years. Okay, and normally that's not horrible, but just because the wear and tear this man's had on his career, that's just a little bit concerning. Peterson does have some power. You saw that in the Martin Bravo fight. He was losing that fight, and he was well on his way to losing against Martin Bravo in that one. Bravo's outstriking him. Bravo's getting takedowns. Bravo's beating him on the ground until Stephen Ocho Peterson lands a huge, and I mean absolutely huge spinning back fist, knocking out Martin Bravo, stopping him in his tracks. He wins the fight. He wins a KO of the night as well. Over, of course, on that card in Mexico City on the Rodriguez and Stevens 1 card. Okay, cool, right? He beats Chase Hooper after that. That's a good win by unanimous decision. Hooper is getting another fight in the UFC, but if we're being honest with ourselves, Chase Hooper maybe just isn't ready just yet for the UFC, and I think the guy's still very young. He was born in 1999. He's still got a lot of time to progress as a fighter, but it's just not his time, just not yet. But Ocho Peterson did what he needed to do in that one. Yeah, Hooper did get the fight on the ground, uses him in Aries like he does a lot. Peterson ended up on top a lot in that fight. He had 8 minutes of control. He outstruck Chase Hooper as well. It was a pretty dominant performance for Stephen Peterson over in Glendale on the Adesanya and Vettori card at UFC 263. So when you're looking at this fight, though, basically just between Erosa and Ocho Peterson, who's got the advantages and where on this fight? On the ground, yeah, Peterson can grapple, but Julian Erosa is one of the better grapplers right now in this division. His scrambles are very fun to watch. He's always the faster fighter on the ground, it seems like. And again, my only thing with Ocho Peterson winning this fight, the only way I see him winning this fight is if he can knock out Erosa, especially early in this fight. If he can catch Erosa early, sure, you should be able to win. That's probably gonna be how he's gonna win. If not, Erosa's gonna wear his opponent down. He's gonna wear on him, eventually probably finish him with the submission. You saw in the Charles Air Jordan fight where Erosa, contrary to my belief, what I thought before the fight, Erosa really worked on Charles Jourdain, outstruck him, even though Jourdain did knock him down in that fight. But Erosa stood in there, traded with Charles Jourdain, and ended up winning the fight by submission late in I believe it was midway through the third round. If you could beat Charles Jourdain, I don't think you're losing to Stephen Ocho Peterson. My only way Peterson wins this fight is by knockout, and especially early in the fight. Other than that, I don't think he wins this one just because I think Erosa's got the advantage on the ground. I think Julian Rosa's Darce is one of the better submissions that you're going to see out of any individual fighter in the UFC. And yeah, give me Juicy J to beat Stephen Ocho Peterson. I think he's going to get it done by submission in the second. Screw it, give it to me by Darce choke again. Juicy J winning in the second round by submission. So now it's time for kind of the Ultimate Fighter finale. It's not really because Bryan Battle already won it, but here you go. Bryan Battle, Trizano Gore. If you didn't know the story, Bryan Battle and Trizano Gore, of course, were the two finalists for the Ultimate Fighter finale fight, of course, at middleweight. Trizano Gore gets hurt, so Gilbert Urbina comes in at the last second to fight Bryan Battle. Battle beats him by rear naked choke in the second round. Trizano Gore now gets this shot against Bryan Battle anyways, and here you go. So Battle and Trizano Gore. If you didn't watch the Ultimate Fighter show, I don't blame you because Brian Ortega and Alexander Volkanovski aren't the two most entertaining personalities, and I don't think UFC's helping their case by putting Juliana Pena and Amanda Nunes in the Ultimate Fighter next season. I mean, Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal right there. I mean, they're there. Of course, doing Pena and Nunes, and I think there's better coaches that you could offer right now, like Gaethje Oliveira. I don't think would be that bad. Even Glover Teixeira, Yuri Prochazka would be kind of interesting. Hell, if Connor's coming back, I mean, hell, Michael Chandler, Tony Ferguson, I think that'd be a lot of cool. You got the motivational speeches out of Chandler and all the crazy stuff that Tony Ferguson does. I'd be really down for that season of The Ultimate Fighter. But anyways, Pena and Nunes. People are going to be shocked when Juliana Pena runs through Amanda Nunes again. I'm just saying. Anyways, Bryan Battle, Trizano Gore. So if you missed the show, again, don't really blame me. But Bryan Battle in that show was very good at landing takedowns, getting the fights to the ground, and winning that way. His first fight wins by decision. Then he beats the guy the UFC was really setting up to win the entire show. It's CFFC commentator. He was filling in for CM Punk last night, Andre Petroski. Petroski's not bad, but Bryan Battle went there, subbed him in the second round, probably the upset of the season with a ninja choke, finishing him. And Petroski, since then, has won 2 fights. He beat Michael Gilmore and beat Hu Yang Zhang, and then most recently beat Phil Hawes at Fury Pro Grappling, which is Petroski good? Maybe he is, but Bryan Battle, that just shows how good that guy is, finishing Petroski on the ground, a spot where Petroski is known for being good at. And yeah, Battle finished him by submission in the second and beat Urbina, of course, in the final. For Trizano Gore, he also beat Gilbert Urbina. He knocked him out in the second round there, or in their second fight, and it was in the semifinals. And then the first round, he beat Ryder Newman by unanimous decision. Trizano Gore is still very green in MMA. It's only going to be his 4th fight when he takes on Bryan Battle, who given it's only going to be his 8th fight. But technically, yeah, Bryan Battle is going to have Bryan Battle is going to have double the experience that Trizano Gore's got in MMA. Gore's got a lot of power. He's a very good boxer, definitely heavy hands. But if he doesn't get the knockout finish, I think Bryan Battle is going to slowly take over in this fight. I think, yeah, Gore might win the first round, but I think in the second and especially the third, Bryan Battle is going to wear on him, eventually getting the fight to the ground, using his grappling effectively. I think it might be tough for Trizano Gore. But again, Trizano Gore could come in there and knock him out in the first round, and I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. But if that doesn't happen, if this fight especially gets in the second and third, Bryan Battle can win this fight. I've seen Battle deal through adversity so far in his run in the Ultimate Fighting promotion, in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, the Petroski fight especially, Urbina fight too. Urbina did do a solid job in the first round. That first round could have gone either way, but I'd really like Bryan Battle to beat Trizano Gore. Unless Gore can get that first round knockout and get that big finish, I think Bryan Battle is going to take over. I think the grappling is going to play a huge difference in this one. I think Battle's grappling is that good, and I think it's that much better than Trizano Gore's. So we're going to go with Bryan Battle to beat Trizano Gore. I think eventually in the second round and in the third round, he's going to get the takedowns and get the submission. I'm going to go late third round sub for Bryan Battle. I think he's going to be on his way to a 2 rounds to 1 decision victory, but late in the third, he's going to take the judges out of it. I'm going to go with Bryan Battle to submit Trizano Gore in the third round, officially winning the Ultimate Fighter, even if he loses, he's still the Ultimate Fighter. Nonetheless, though, give me Bryan Battle to beat Trizano Gore with a third round submission. All right, what are we doing here? Why is Sam Alvey fighting Phil Hawes? Why is Sam Alvey fighting, and why is Sam Alvey fighting in the UFC? Anyone care to explain to me this? Like, Sam Alvey should be fighting in, I mean, what regional promotion? We got Fury this weekend? Yeah, Sam Alvey should be fighting on that Fury FC card this weekend. Or he should be fighting in CES this weekend on Dana White looking for a fight. Why is Sam Alvey in the UFC still? I don't know. This dude 100% has dirt on Dana White. Like, I know we talked about, we've never talked about this on the channel, but we're talking about it right now, about how Dana White's mom said he was sleeping with all the ring girls. Maybe Sam Alvey's got like pictures or videos. I don't know. Why is this guy in the UFC? Okay, Sam Alvey seems like a nice guy. Seems like a nice guy. Smiling Sam, right? The guy just hasn't won a fight. The last time this guy won a fight was 2018, and it was Jan Vellante. It was Jan Vellante. I mean, he won by split decision. The main event was Jimmy Rivera and Marlon Moraes. I mean, Ben Saunders won the card. Jake Ellenberger fought in that card. I think that was Nathaniel Wood's UFC debut. Bilal Muhammad was low on the card. Jared Brooks was still in the UFC. Now he's in one championship. He just won by decision. Good for him. But my goodness, why is Sam Alvey in the UFC? Phil Hawes is going to run right through him. I think. Now, I'll get into where I think Alvey's got maybe a chance to win this fight. That's why I don't think this is the lock of the night, considering Miles Johnson's fighting on this card against John Castaneda. I think this is an easy fight to call, but I'll give you a slight way Sam Alvey could win this fight. Sam Alvey, we say every time he fights, he gets into brawls. He's a classic old school fighter. He's not the typical MMA fighter anyone's bringing up anymore. He's not going to be, who's like an ultra prospect in MMA right now? Michael Morales, there you go. He's not like a Michael Morales. He's not going to be, taking his time, really working, setting up the knockout. That's not what Sam Alvey does. He comes in there, he charges his opponents, and he tries to finish him. Now, the Wellington Turman fight, Wellington Turman had 2 points deducted from him in that fight and still won the fight. And Wellington Turman, I don't think he's a UFC caliber fighter at all. I don't think highly of Turman at all. He's only 25 years old. He's already had 22 pro fights. I think Turman would definitely benefit from hitting the regional promotions real quick for at least like 2 or 3 years, and then coming back when he's, say, 29 years old. I think that could really help out Turman. I think Turman's chin's just not very good at this point of his career too, which is not a good thing when he's only 25 years old, but that's a whole discussion for another day. Turman lost 2 points in that fight, and Sam Alvey still lost. He got subbed by Julian Marques, where, yeah, he had his moments, but he still lost. Dawodu Jung was the weird outlier because he had that split draw to him, which still doesn't make sense to me because Dawodu Jung just finished Kennedy and Nzejuku. Okay. He lost to Ryan Spann, which maybe you can make the argument Alvey won. I don't like you either way. He lost to Kilson Abreu. He lost to Jimmy Crute by TKO. He got knocked out by Little Nog. Yeah. And then he beat Vellante, and then he beat Marcin Prokhnio. We've talked about before how Marcin Prokhnio fought maybe one of the worst fight styles in UFC history. Came charging in. This was in Orlando, Florida. Hands down. All right, I'm coming after you, Alvey. Hands both down. Boom, gets knocked out. Like any human would be if you come in charging with their hands down. But hey, Prokhnio's bounced back. He beat Khalil Roundtree and beat Ike Villanueva. Ike Villanueva, by the way, getting another shot in the UFC. He's fighting Tyson Pedro. So maybe Laura Senko will be locked in on that fight. That's a story for another day. But again, why is Alvey in the UFC? I don't know. I rewatched Sam Alvey versus Rashad Evans when I was getting ready for Rashad Evans' fight on Eagle FC, which I didn't think he was going to win, but he did win. Good for Rashad Evans, even though he put himself in like 10 leg locks where he almost got subbed, but nothing less. I sat down at like 9 o'clock in the morning. I don't know why I did this to myself, but I watched Sam Alvey versus Rashad Evans. Don't do what I was doing. It's boring. It's not a great way to spend your 15 minutes. Not gonna lie, I almost fell asleep. But Rashad Evans lands a couple takedowns, and Alvey does what Alvey always does very well. He crashes in, he lands strikes, and that's how he beat Rashad Evans, the former UFC champion Rashad Evans. This is on Pettis versus Brandon Moreno in a main event. Yeah, this is Brandon Moreno's first in the UFC. Bellator champion versus UFC champion. Kind of cool. That was 2017, though. Okay, enough talking about Sam Alvey. So you look at Phil Hawes. I think Phil Hawes should win. But my only concern is if Sam Alvey lands a bomb. Kind of like the Chris Curtis fight. Now, Chris Curtis is going to be taking on Dricus du Plessis, and I'm so excited for that fight because the winner of that fight should be immediately inserted into the top 10 and should have like title aspirations immediately. The winner of that Chris Curtis and Dricus du Plessis fight. But with Phil Hawes and Chris Curtis. Now, it's Chris Curtis' first fight in the UFC. It's an MSG UFC 268. Hawes is winning the fight. He's dominating on the feet. Curtis can't get his offense going. He has a very slow start until, late in the first round, big shot by Curtis, puts down Phil Hawes and puts him out. That's Hawes' first loss since I do believe when he got knocked out by Julian Marques, if I'm not mistaken. I think so. Hawes looked good before that in the UFC. I mean, he comes in, he beats Jacob Malkoun, he knocks him out in 18 seconds, beats Imavov in a fight where he got very tired towards the end of that fight, but he still won. He beat Kyle Dawkins, who's a very good fighter, and then he just got beat by Chris Curtis. Gonna happen to you though. Curtis is like a top 15 fighter in the weight class, don't get me wrong, but it was just a fight that Hawes was supposed to win. He's supposed to take on Duran Win. He's probably gonna win that fight. He drew Curtis instead at the last second, and Chris Curtis beat him. He's taking on Sam Alvey, and again, the only way I think Hawes loses this one if he just walks into a bomb from Alvey like he did in the Curtis fight. Like if he loses this fight, it's gonna be very similar to the Curtis fight with Phil Hawes. If that doesn't happen though, Hawes is gonna run through Sam Alvey and he's gonna finish him. Sam Alvey has had 51 professional fights. He's only been knocked out 3 times. He's got 11 wins by decision, 11 losses by decision. But Phil Hawes still possesses a lot of power. Phil Hawes is going to win this fight. He's going to knock out Sam Alvey. It's going to be in the first round. It's going to be kind of sad because it should be Alvey's last fight in the UFC. But I don't know. Maybe Dana White goes post-fight. But yeah, I think we're going to give Alvey another shot. But Kevin Lee's over in Eagle FC. I got nothing. Phil Hawes is going to win this fight. He's going to win by first round knockout. On to the next. Really fun fight. Here we go, man. 2 undefeated fighters in the UFC. We've got Shavkat Rakhmonov taking on Carlston Harris. I've been high on Shavkat Rakhmonov ever since he entered the UFC. I picked him to be Alex Oliveira, and he won. And I think some people were still backing Oliveira in that fight. Rakhmonov comes in there, subs him in the first round, then he beats Michael Prazeres, submits him in the second round. He's a pretty big favorite in that one, but still he wins. Rakhmonov, really good grappling man, and his striking's good too, because he'll catch you off guard because his striking's so good. But then all of a sudden, he'll hit you with the submissions, it'll hit you with the grappling, and he'll win the fight that way. Now, Carlston Harris. I didn't think we were gonna get a great version of Carlston Harris heading into the UFC, because he came in the UFC 33 years of age, first UFC fighter from Guyana. Cool. I thought he was gonna be Christian Aguilera just because I didn't think all that highly of Aguilera at the time. And is Aguilera still in the UFC? He's not. He's supposed to fight in BFL, Battlefield Fight League. I didn't know that was a thing. I'll keep it a buck with you. They're on Fight Pass. Okay, cool. I'll check it out in February. I didn't know that was a thing. But Carlston Harris beats Christian Aguilera, sends him out of the UFC by winning by Anaconda in the first round. Okay, the Impa Kasanganay fight. I will keep it a buck with you. I think Impa Kasanganay is a very good fighter. I thought highly of Kasanganay. I think he's 28 years old, but he's only had like MMA experience for about 2.5 years. He's doing a very good job for the amount of time he's put into the sport. Now he's no longer in the UFC, which I think is ridiculous. He's 2-2. He beat Maki Pitolo and Sasha Palatnikov. The fact that Maki Pitolo and Sasha Palatnikov, or I think Pitolo got released, but still the fact that Palatnikov's still in the UFC and Kasanganay is not is embarrassing. Kasanganay is going to Eagle FC. I think he's going to build himself up very well in that promotion, which I'm excited for. I'm glad that Kasanganay is over there. But Carlston Harris didn't have any trouble with Impa Kasanganay. I mean, and I think highly of Kasanganay, but Carlston Harris shut down Kasanganay in that fight. Kasanganay could not get his striking going, and Carlston Harris knocked him out in the first round. So we've already seen 2 fights in the UFC. What can Carlston Harris do well? He can go out and get submissions, and he can go out and he can get knockouts as well. When he was coming in the UFC on Dana White looking for a fight, UAE Warriors and Eagle FC, their co-promotion fight, he comes in, he beats a guy, I'm not going to say his name. Personally, I didn't know much of the fighter before I watched the Dana White looking for a fight, but the guy was 17-1 heading in that fight. Carlston Harris comes in there and subs him in the second round with a Darce choke. And this is a guy who was 17-1 and since then has picked up 3 straight wins in EFC. He has 1-1 championship as well. Oh, by the way, that was 2 weeks ago. Right? He's fighting good guys in the regional promotions. And UAE Warriors is not a regional promotion at all, but I'm just saying, right? Carlston Harris is beating real guys. He's taking on real competition. And if there's going to be someone that's going to beat Shavkat Rakhmonov that's outside the top 15, it's going to be Carlston Harris. Because the winner of this fight should be heading into that top 15, should be fighting really ranked opponents from here on out. And this is a huge breakthrough victory for either one of these fighters. Rakhmonov is undefeated, and Carlston Harris has been on a roll. So here you go, man. Carlston Harris definitely has the power to knock out Rakhmonov. I can see that happening. For sure, I can see Harris knocking out Rakhmonov, but I can also see Rakhmonov going there and subbing him really quickly as well. But the thing is, I can see the other way around too. I think I can see Rakhmonov really putting on the pressure and eventually finishing Harris, but I can also see Harris going in there, catching Rakhmonov with the submission, and that's probably the least likely outcome in this fight, but I can still see it happening just because these two guys are very well matched. I think it's a very even fight. I don't think the odds really reflect how close this fight is because you got Rakhmonov coming in at -225 and Harris at +185. This is such a close fight, but I like Shavkat Rakhmonov. I don't think Carlston Harris is going to be the first guy to beat him. I think Rakhmonov striking is going to be able to close the distance for him, and eventually he's going to get a takedown, lock up something in the clinch, put Harrison on his back, and I think he's going to submit him. I just think that's how good Rakhmonov's grappling is. And if MMA and just me watching MMA just at least for the last 2 or 3 years, I've been watching MMA for longer, but for the last 2 and 3 years, if something has been ever more apparent is don't pick against a guy as he has like a hat. Right? Like the Habib style hat. I know Rakhmonov doesn't wear the exact hat that Habib wears. He's got kind of like a Davy Crockett hat going on. But don't pick against guys who have hats like that. Like Fiziev, Rakhmonov, Habib, obviously. Don't pick against guys who have hats. So I'm taking Shavkat Rakhmonov. Anyways, I think he's a better fighter overall. I think his striking is good enough to where it can compete with Harris and maybe even win the fight that way. But on the ground, I really like Rakhmonov to submit Carlston Harris. I'm going to go Shavkat Rakhmonov submitting Harris in the second round. Co-main event time. This fight's extremely easy to break down. Punahele Soriano, Nick Maximov. It's so simple to break down. Can Nick Maximov land a takedown Punahele Soriano, and can he keep him down? If he can't, he's going to lose. If he can, he's going to win. It's that simple, truly. Soriano, 100% takedown defense so far in the UFC, given I think he's only been shot on twice. I think Brendan Allen tried once, and Dusko Todorovic tried once. Other than that, no one's tried yet, and given he's only had 3 fights to promotion, 4 if you count the contender, but that was against Jamie Pickett. So, there's a thing. I mean, Maximov's first fight, was it the fight I thought we were going to get on Maximov in his first fight with the promotion? No, I thought he was going to get a submission win. He still beats Cody Brundage, but okay, it's cool. Yeah, he beats Brundage, but is Brundage really on his level? No, I don't think. Brundage is going to fight Dalcha Lujanbula, and I think Lujanbula will probably win that fight. That's in a month. We'll get to that fight when we get there, but I just thought we were going to see more out of Maximov. I thought we were going to see more. He controlled the entire fight, don't get me wrong. I mean, in the Brundage fight, 10 minutes of control, but it wasn't the most impressive fight. A lot of clinching going on. He went 4 for 15 on his takedowns, but it shows you though, if Maximov doesn't get the takedown the first time, he's going to keep trying and he's going to keep going for it. He's going to keep trying for that takedown. Soriano though, if Punahele Soriano doesn't lose to Brendan Allen, this guy's in the top 15 right now and he's fighting like a Chris Curtis. And now Chris Curtis probably would have beat Punahele Soriano, so I'm glad that fight didn't happen. But I mean, he got outstruck by Brendan Allen. Okay. Brendan Allen's known for being a very good grappler. He can kind of strike, but it was a fight that if you went into that fight saying, okay, Soriano and Brendan Allen are just going to strike, I would have told you that I probably thought that Punahele Soriano was going to win. Just because the way he beat Todorovic. Now, at the time, we thought highly of Todorovic. Since then, he's been shaky. Yeah, he just beat Maki Pitolo, but I don't know. Todorovic isn't horrible. And then he knocked out Oscar Peyote, but a lot of guys have done that. And then Jamie Pickett, he beat him. A lot of guys have done that as well. Still, though, Soriano's a good prospect. He's 8-1. It's just dependent on, though, if he can stuff a takedown from Maximov, and can he continuously stuff takedowns against Maximov? Because like we saw in the Maximov-Brundage fight, sure, he can miss on a couple takedowns, but he's going to keep trying. He's going to keep going for those takedowns, and he's going to keep attempting them. He went for 15. He only needed 4 to land, and he still won the fight. He still had 10 minutes of control. Of course, the Nick Diaz Army fighter, whatever you want to call him, he trains with the Diaz brothers over in Stockton. That's all you need to know. Maximov's ground game is very good. He's still very young in his career. He's very young in general. He's 24 years old. Future is bright for Maximov. Same with Soriano, who is 29, but still only 9 pro fights so far. It's a tough fight to pick because, I mean, you're going to know, I think, the winner of this fight maybe 3 minutes in, right? If Maximov can't land a takedown the first 3 minutes, I think he's going to lose. If he lands a takedown the first 3 minutes and he can show that he can keep Soriano down, he's going to win. What do you bank on here? I don't know. Like, don't bet on this fight. The odds are -195 Soriano, +165 Maximov. I wouldn't touch that at all because you just don't know how this fight's going to play out. I'm going to tend to think in the more well-balanced fighter, and Soriano is going to win because I just think for Maximov, he's so dependent on getting that takedown and keeping the fight to the ground, and that's the only way he can really win the fight. So I'm going to go the other way in this one. I think Punahele Soriano is going to win. Do I think he'll finish Maximov? Yeah, because I think if Maximov can't land a takedown, he's kind of a sitting duck on the feet. So I think Soriano will then knock him out. So I'm going to go Punahele Soriano to knock out Nick Maximov. I don't think he'll get it done in the first round. I think he'll get it done in the second. I'm going to go Punahele Soriano to bounce back with a victory here. He's going to finish Nick Maximov with a second round TKO win. Main event time. We have got Jack the Joker Hermansson taking on Sean Strickland. A very important fight here at 185 pounds here for the UFC. And it's a big opportunity for both these guys. Really in a middleweight division where, like, yeah, do we have the next 2 title fights sorted out? Kind of. Because it's Adesanya Whitaker and then Cannonier Brunson are going to fight each other. But say Adesanya beats Whitaker and then Adesanya beats Jared Cannonier after that, the division's kind of wiped out because then Izzy would have beaten Whitaker twice, Vettori twice, Cannonier, Brunson, Costa, and then you look at Hermansson Strickland. The winner of this fight, honestly, could be a fight away from the championship. So this is a huge fight. I mean, this is a truly huge fight in the division. And I know there's a guy named Alex Bahia climbing up the ranks. And if he beats Bruno Silva, I'll be honest with you, I think they might give him a title shot. Because if Adesanya keeps winning, I really think if Bahia can go beat Bruno Silva, which is a tough task for him, but it's a stylistically good matchup for him. If he can beat Bruno Silva, I think they might give him a title shot. Just saying. But it's still a huge fight for Hermansson and Strickland. Because in a division where there's not many contenders left, you just need to win a fight or two, and you're back fighting for a championship, similar to what, hey, the Korean Zombie did. Like, Zombie beat Dan Ige, and now he's getting a title shot. Like, you never know. Here we go, Hermansson and Strickland. The winner of this fight could be fighting for a world championship maybe by the end of the year. We'll see. So Sean Strickland's 24-3. The guy doesn't lose that much. And something huge I want to point out in this fight, if Jack Hermansson is going to win, it's going to have to be by taking down Sean Strickland. Because yes, Hermansson's striking isn't horrible. It's gotten better. It has. But he got outstruck by Marvin Vettori for 5 rounds straight. He got knocked out by Jared Cannonier. The Shabazian fight and the Gastelum fight, both of them on the ground a lot. Hermansson eventually won rounds 2 and 3 against Shabazian, and the Gastelum fight subbed him immediately. But same with David Branch as well. Got him in the guillotine in 50 seconds. But if Hermansson's going to beat Sean Strickland, it's going to have to be through the grappling. Okay, that's fine. But who's the last guy that's taken down Sean Strickland? Oh wait, it's Kamaru Usman. Back in 2017 when Strickland used to fight 170 before the motorcycle accident. It's been a while. You don't take down Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland is tough to take down. I mean, you can go watch this guy's interviews and some stuff he'll say about wrestlers. I'm not going to repeat it on the channel. Don't want to get demonetized, but like Strickland, when he does very well, he does defend takedowns very well, and that's why I liked him if he fought Luke Rockhold. I thought it was going to be a good stylistic matchup for Strickland. Like this fight against Hermansson, I think it's a good stylistic matchup as well, because sometimes the trap that Jack Hermansson gets stuck in, if he can't land a takedown, he gets stuck striking the entire fight. It's very similar to the Jared Cannonier fight, where he got stuck striking with him in the second round, and eventually he got knocked out, right? He couldn't hold Jared Cannonier down, so eventually he got knocked out in that fight. The Vettori fight, like, yeah, he landed a couple takedowns in that one, but Vettori kept reversing him on the ground. So eventually, Hermansson was like, all right, at least, so it's either I'm on bottom in this fight and Vettori's controlling me on the ground, or I'm going out and I'm trying to strike with Marvin Vettori, which it didn't go his way because Vettori almost knocked him out early in the fight. But in his wins, you know what he does well. Shabazian takedown, submission, or didn't get the submission, but still control him on the ground. Kelvin Gastelum subbed him quickly. Same with David Branch. The Jacare fight, it was a weird fight because Jacare, you know, that was the start of Jacare's downfall, really. Hermansson takedowns, almost knocked out Jacare in the second round, I do believe, in that fight as well. It was just an all-around good performance for the Joker in that one. But it's just tough stylistically with him and Strickland, because again, you don't take down Strickland. 82% takedown defense rate so far for Strickland in the UFC. Again, I will heavily emphasize this. The last guy to take him down was Kamaru Usman. And since then, he's taken on good grapplers by the name of Brendan Allen, Court McGee. He's taken on good grapplers and he's beating these guys. The Brendan Allen fight knocked him out in the second round, and we saw Brendan Allen outstrike Punahele Soriano for 15 minutes. Allen didn't even really engage in the takedowns at all. Strickland actually took him down once in that fight. I just think it's tough for Hermansson to win this one, because I think he's going to get stuck striking with Sean Strickland throughout this entire fight. I think that's how it's going to happen, because I don't think he's going to be able to land a takedown. And once Hermansson goes in the first round, and yes, Hermansson is a slow starter, because you even saw Edmund Shabazian win the first round against him. But still, if he can't win the first round, and he can't win the second round, he's going to get stuck in this game where he's going to be striking with Sean Strickland, who's going to talk a lot of crap with you in there. He's always an aggressive striker, and he's always getting in your face, and it's going to be tough for Hermansson to come back in this fight, because once he drops 2 rounds, it's a fun sprint from there for Sean Strickland. I think Strickland's going to keep the volume going. I think he's going to eventually just beat Jack Hermansson. I think there's a very good chance he wins every single round. Maybe there's a chance Hermansson can sneak around in there, you know, every once in a while. Again, maybe he does land that one takedown. I don't know if he's going to be able to, though, because Sean Strickland's takedown defense keeps getting better and better, and the Uriah Hall fight showed his striking is so improved. And we know, you know, what we've seen out of Uriah Hall sometimes is hesitancy to throw. He's been, you know, ultra cautious at times, but still, Strickland brought it to him, and he just dominated him through 5 rounds. I think it's gonna be more domination here against Jack Hermansson, and I like Hermansson, but just on paper, if you break this fight down, just with these 2 guys heading into the octagon this Saturday night, it just favors Sean Strickland so much. And I like Sean Strickland to beat Jack Hermansson. I think he gets it done at 50-45. I think he wins every single round. I could see a 49-46 in there, but still, no matter what, I like a unanimous decision heading in the direction of Sean Strickland beating Jack Hermansson, picking up his 2nd straight win in main events. Strickland's on a roll right now. He hasn't lost since 2018, where he got spinning hook kicked by Alicia Zaleski dos Santos. Strickland's on a roll. If he wins this fight, man, you're either looking like Tyler Shaw, Marvin Vettori, or a fight I want to see. Give him Sean Strickland versus the winner of Bruno Silva and Alex Pereira. How about that? Because the winner of that fight then gets a title shot. I think the middleweight division is really shaping out really well right now. Yeah, Adesanya Whitaker. Okay, the winner of that fight fights the winner of Cannonier versus Brunson. And the winner of that whole scramble fights the winner of these 2 guys And then Bruno Silva and Alex Bahia, the winner of that 4-man tournament, goes on to take on whoever the champion is. I just think the UFC can really fast track the winner of Silva and Bahia. I think very highly of those two guys. The knockout power those two dudes have as this division are huge. And I think, again, the opportunity is right there for those two guys to eventually break into the title picture very quickly. But tonight, or this Saturday night, will belong to Sean Strickland beating Jack Hermansson by unanimous decision. Folks, thank y'all for watching this UFC preview and predictions video here on the channel. Of course, Jack Hermansson, Sean Strickland are the headline. And next week, though, huge card from Houston, Texas, back on pay-per-view. Israel Adesanya, Robert Whittaker, the rematch. So excited for that fight. Also very excited for the co-main event. Bam Bam Tai Tuivasa taking on the Black Beast, Derek Lewis, and also a #1 contenders fight. No matter what, the winner of Adesanya Whittaker should be taking on the winner of Derek Brunson and Jared Cannonier. So excited for next week's card, along with this week's card as well. So folks, thank y'all for watching. Make sure that subscribe button down below for more. And Mamba forever.